Well, welcome everyone to Movie Goodness, where we examine life through cinema here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this episode is kind of unconventional. It's a weird one that I'm gonna try here. I haven't done a movie goodness episode like this before. We're doing a movie review, and normally I do my movie reviews on the concession stand, and we just review the film. But this is something different because there's layers to this. There's a lot of layers to this film that just came out, and it is Snow White, and it's not just about the movie, but it's also about the behind the scenes. This is one of the most controversial movies to come out in a while, and it's controversial in the sense of the star of this film and the co-star as well, and the Hamas war, the war over in Gaza, and so many different things, whitewashing or the lack thereof of whitewashing, what they call it, race switching, the casting and the visual effects and all this. It was so much behind the scenes mess that took place, and that's before this movie even came out. And opening weekend, it came out this past weekend, and it bombed. It bombed. Nobody went to go see this movie that cost upwards to close to $300 million to make. I think that was the budget. I think it was around 270. Um, there's so many different numbers floating around, but it's around that area. 250. I've even seen numbers as high as 350. $350 million to make this movie, and I don't know why. You know, after seeing this movie, I don't know why they would green light Snow White movie, a live action Snow White movie for $300+ million. That is mind boggling to me, but that's what we got. So there's so many elements to this film that ultimately that's the reason I watched this movie, because this isn't a movie that I would run to the theater to see. I'm not a Snow White guy. You know, I never was a Snow White person. I remember going to see Snow White and the Huntsman a while back with who was it? Kristen Stewart, and then Chris Hemsworth was in that film. Charlize Theron was in that. I actually enjoyed that movie, even though it took some major liberties with the source material that is Snow White. But for what it was, I actually enjoyed it. Now the sequel to that film, I don't even remember it. I know I've seen it, but it's forgettable, obviously, because I don't remember anything about it. But that's neither here nor there. Not a big Snow White guy. Wasn't going to go see this movie, but there was so much behind it. I was like, man, is this movie worth it? You know, is the juice worth the squeeze, as they like to say? So I went and checked it out. Well, this movie over this past weekend, you know, with the 300 and some odd $1 million that it cost to produce, it only mustered up $94.7 million. Now, that ain't nothing to sneeze at. I mean, that's worldwide. That's not just here in the United States where I'm at, but that's not good, because you need to make, in order for a film to turn a profit, you have to make three times its budget. That's the only way. So basically, this movie had to be $1 billion movie in order for it to make a profit, just to break even in some sorts. That is wild. So that it didn't have a chance in my eyes. It did not. This movie was sent out to die, honestly, and is a fast death. It ain't slow. Is pretty fast. What's happening to Snow White? But we're gonna review the film. But before we review the film, I want to jump in on some of the controversy surrounding this film and why this film is being, I don't know, torn apart. And I think it's being torn apart unfairly. Now, I'm gonna give my thoughts on the movie in a few, but it's it's wild to me how people are judging this movie based on what happened behind the scenes. I'm gonna just flat out say this: it's unfair to this film. It's unfair to the people involved, all the filmmakers, all the actors and the actresses, everybody who put this movie together. It is unfair for the movie to be judged because of what took place off screen. If we was to do that with every single movie, every movie would be a low grade, you know, because all movies have problems. All movies have somebody on set, whether it's a performer or the director or the producer, who have different views, have different opinions, and you know, they do things that aren't up to par, we should say. And before I go any further, let me just express my apologies. If I sound a little congested and stuffed up, it's because I am down here in southeastern Louisiana, and I don't know about anywhere else because I'm not anywhere else right now. But I can only judge from where I'm at. It The pollen in the air is going bananas, and I am so stuffed up. And I never had allergy problems. I never had sinus problems until a couple of years ago, and now it's starting to kick my behind. And it's hard to breathe, and at times it can't be outside too long, or I go sneezing like crazy and all this. I'm just not built for this, so I apologize if I sound just horrible, because I'm listening to myself in the headphones. I'm like, is that me talking? It just, I don't sound right in these headphones, so my apologies. But let's get into this film, at least the pre-production, and then we'll get into the review. Let's start with the casting. Now, this is where it first kicked off. The casting of this film, we cast, or Disney, not me, I don't own Disney. Uh, Disney and the producers of this film decided to cast Rachel Zegler in the lead role of Snow White. And Rachel Zegler, you may have seen her in West Side Story, the Steven Spielberg remake from a couple of years ago. She was in Shazam, that sequel to Shazam, which was horrible, but she was all right in it, and she was great in West Side Story. But she is a trained Broadway actress. You know, she is built for that. So to cast her as Snow White, where this is a musical, it made sense. The problem came in case you don't know, in case you haven't seen a picture of her and have no idea who she is, Rachel Zegler is Latina. She is a Latina. She's not white. And that drew so much criticism a couple of years ago when they announced that cast. And you would think that they cast Idris Elba as Jesus Christ or something, and people just lost their minds. And you know, it was unbelievable. They haven't shot one frame of film. They haven't. You didn't see her in her uh, outfit yet. You didn't see a still. You didn't see anything. But the mere fact that they cast a Latina woman as Snow White, people blew their minds. Now, to a degree, I can see where people were kind of confused, you know, because the character Snow White, that is part of her character, being white. So I kind of get it. And let me explain. It's something like Black Panther, right? You couldn't cast Brad Pitt as T'Challa. It's impossible. You needed to have a black actor portray Black Panther. That's part of his character. That's who he is. And so, no, some roles you just can't racial split, you know, or swap. Now, Snow White, to a lesser degree, it's something like that because the character is described in the original material as having skin as white as snow. And that's the description of that character. Hence, Snow White. And that's why she got the name Snow White in the original material. They changed it for the movie. That's why I say this kind of different, because in the movie, there's a reason why they named her Snow White. It wasn't because her skin was white as snow. It's because she was born on a snowy day and it was a beautiful, everything was white because of the snow. And it was an unusual phenomenon that took place that day. So to kind of mark the event, they named her Snow White. Her parents did, and I accepted it, because it didn't bother me. I was like, okay, I get that. I get that. But they explained it. They didn't just cast her and expected everybody to just forget the fact that she's Latino. No, they explained it. That one little line in the opening. If you were paying attention, you got it, and you're like, okay, we move on. I never questioned it no more throughout the viewing of this film. Made sense. No big deal. And for people who think that they just changed ethnic uh uh the ethnicity of her character because it was Rachel Zegler. No, they were actually looking for a Latino actress because another Latino actress was in the running. I think she came in second runner up to portray Snow White. So they were actually actively looking for a Latino actress to play this role. Now, you may ask yourself, if you didn't see the movie, you may ask yourself, well, does that play a part in the film? No. No, it's not even necessary. It's not even, she's not even acting. Well, if I say that, it's going to come off as kind of racist. And I'm not trying, I'm trying not being, she doesn't come off as being Latina, if that makes any sense. She's not speaking in Spanish or anything like that. There's no cultural things that she's doing that would let you know that she's Latino or anything like that. It's just she's a Latino person who's playing this character, so it doesn't play a part in the movie. And so you may ask yourself, well, what was the purpose? I don't know. I don't know the reason why. Now you got those group of people that feel like Disney going woke, go woke or go broke, which this film did. But I don't know. I never understood the woke thing. I don't even know how that's defined. So I don't know. I don't know. If that's the case, fine. But who cares? We're talking about a fictional character. Fictional character. If this was an autobiography of pick somebody, Dolly Parton, and they cast Beyonce as Dolly Parton, I can see people being in an uproar. I would be in an uproar. Like, what? Why would you cast a black woman as Dolly Parton? That's a real life woman. Doesn't make any sense. But we're not talking about a real life individual. This is a fictional character. Who cares? I mean, honestly, who cares? People just want to complain just for the sake of complaining. And it hurt this film, and it hurt the box office of this film, I believe, because a lot of people didn't go see it. This reminds me of a couple of years ago when the Little Mermaid live action film came out and Haley Bailey was playing Ariel, and people lost their collective minds because a black girl was playing a mermaid. Now, not only is Ariel a fictional character, a mermaid is a fictional thing. It's not even a real thing. And people were mad because Ariel was black. I understand you grew up with the animated movie. So did I. Enjoyed the animated movie. Loved it. Couldn't wait to see the film. The film was alright, but it wasn't because Ariel was black that the movie wasn't the greatest thing since sliced bread. You could have had a Snow White, no pun intended, white actress play this role and it still would have been bad. The movie was just not that good. It had nothing to do with the ethnicity of the actors. But we move on from that. That was controversy number one. But we'll get back to Rachel Zegler because it's gonna get spicy in a little while. But before we get to that, um, we had a controversy about the seven dwarves, and it's it's understandable in a way because this movie was delayed. This movie was filmed in 2022, I believe, or 2023, maybe, but around that area. And a lot of things have affected the release of the movie. You know, you had the writer's strike and so on, the actors strike, all that stuff was going on. So a lot of things affected the pushback of this movie. But one of the things that kind of put a monkey wrench in the plan was the fact that they had actual, well, not actual dwarves in the role. Um, in January of 2022, Peter Dinklage, who we all know, a fantastic actor, probably one of the funniest actors on earth. He's known for a lot of serious roles, you know, Game of Thrones and whatnot, but the dude is one of the funniest actors. You know, Death at a Wedding or Death at a Funeral, that stupid Adam Sandler movie. He was the best part of it. Pixel, he was hilarious in that. But anywho's, and he also was in Avengers Endgame. But anyway, see, you know he has dwarfism, so he knows about dwarfs, and he has played dwarfish characters throughout his career, of course, and he commented on the live action Snow White remake, dismissing it as a backward story. And the reason he made these comments is because the dwarfs, the seven dwarfs, weren't dwarfs. They had actual, I guess you could say normal size, and I'm putting quotations up like y'all can see it, but normal size human beings as those characters. And I think one of them had dwarfism, but the rest of them were normal size. And it was reimagining, as they said. It's not going to be what we're used to seeing when it comes to seven Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And so, of course, this is upsetting to the community, to those who have dwarfism. And he wasn't the only one. You remember Wee Man from the MTV show Jackass? He has dwarfism. He made a statement about how Disney didn't cast any dwarfs for the roles of dwarfs, and it's like it made no sense. They actually had these people standing in as the seven dwarfs. So eventually, they switched it up and they replaced them with CGI dwarfs, which is dumb. Why? You couldn't tell you're gonna sit here and tell me you couldn't find seven people with dwarfism. I'm short. You could have used me. I'm because everybody think I'm one anyway. I'm that short, but it's neither here nor there. But you could in the what makes it matters worse. I was gonna save it for the review, but it doesn't matter. The CGI was so bad. They all looked the same. There was no difference. They tried to make them look like the original from the 1937 film. Tried to make them look like them, and it just looked bad. It was. I'll get into the CGI when we review the film, but it's that's ridiculous. It is ridiculous that they went that route. But I brought up the 1937 film, and that brings us back to our star of Snow White, and that is Rachel Zegler, who had criticism of the 1937 film, which is odd, which is real odd. Now, let me start off by saying this. She has the right to her opinion. She has the right to feel the way she feels about whatever it is she's discussing. And we're going to go over quite a number of things that she has said, either to the press or on social media. And she has the right to say what she wants to say and feel the way she wants to feel and have an opinion. We all have opinions, and not everybody agrees with your opinions. I'm told that all the time. I don't think anybody agrees with my with my opinions, but it is what it is, But it's my opinion, And more often than not, people have opinions that I'm talking to I don't agree with, but I don't bash them. I don't, uh, you know, send death threats and whatnot to them and all this here because I don't agree. That's some MAGA stuff, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, she expressed criticism over statements expressing disappointment with aspects of the original film, including the prince and Snow White's characterization. In a 2022 interview, uh, Rachel Zegler criticized "quote unquote" jokes about the new Snow White character being PC, saying that the cartoon was old and needed a refresh to give the character a function beyond "someday my prince will come." She also spoke about the story change at the 2022 Disney Expo, D23. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and there was a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. It's weird. It's super weird. So we didn't do it this time. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people would assume is a love story just because we cast a guy in the movie. Um, Andrew Burnap, who's a great dude, but it's really not about her love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. All of Andrew's scenes can get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. That was a response to that. In response to her comment, many rebuked her for making Snow White more feminist, uh, while others criticized her for misinterpreting feminism, with accusations of promoting the girl boss archetype or maligning women that seek traditional feminist roles or are uninterested in power or leadership. And so Ashton Steen, a brand strategist, he felt that Rachel Zegler's statements made it appear that she did not receive media training for marketing, uh, because she was not doing a good job of promoting her film. Ultimately, critics claimed that Zegler disliked the original film. David Hand, who father of the same name, co-directed the original film, criticized the remake, describing it as insulting, and suggested that his father and Walt Disney would be turning over in their graves over these comments made by Rachel Zegler. This controversy prompted conservative media organizations like the Daily Wire to announce their own live action adaptation of the original fairy tale named Snow White and the Evil Queen, which was originally to star actress and Daily Wire commentator Brett Cooper as Snow White for a 2025 release in an effort to compete with the Disney version, the version that we just got. However, following Cooper's departure from the Daily Wire in December of last year, no updates of the production of this version was given since. Um, Zegler addressed backlash for her comments in a Variety interview back in October of 2024. She said that the film is still infused with a love story and that it made me sad that it was taken in such a way. It could be very upsetting when things are getting taken out of context or jokes just don't land. Well, I'll, I don't see a joke that she said. nothing. It's nothing you can really take out of context. Now, maybe maybe because I know people like this, and actually I've been accused of this as well. Uh, they can't tell when you joking. Like I said, I've been told this. Like I have a serious face or whatever, but I'm real sarcastic. I'm a sarcastic person. So when I say something to somebody and it'll come off as mean, but I'm really joking, and I'm always accused of that. So I can kind of understand if that's her type of personality. How I fixed it, I just don't joke with people anymore unless they know how I operate. If people who know how I operate normally get the joke. But if it's a new person that's walking around my circle and I'm sarcastic or irrelevant or whatever the case may be, I'm normally I'll shut up, because I know they're not going to get the joke and it's not going to go like I want it to. Now, is that Rachel Zegler? Is that how she operate? I don't know. I don't know. She claimed that it was jokes. I don't see the joke. And I've read it several times, but it just didn't land with me either. But at the same time, I didn't take much offense to it as well. And so let's go over to the big daddy of it all. And this was the controversy that kind of, I'm not going to say torpedoed the film, but it really just, it shook it. All that other stuff, you can kind of get past it, because little kids, which this movie is pretty much aimed for, small children or well, I don't know, preteens, but either way, children. They don't care who's cast in this film. They don't care if the dwarfs are animated or computer generated or whatever. They don't care about all that. And so it really didn't matter. That wasn't going to affect the box office that much. No matter if the parents don't agree or not, or like her comments or like the actors or like the fact that they changed their Snow White. If their kids keep bugging them, they're going to bring them to the movie. But I think this torpedoed the movie in a way. If the kids were bothering their parents to go see this movie, they would flat out tell them no. They were like, no, I'm not going to see this movie. It's too much. It's just too much. And this was because of, once again, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, who is also in this movie. She plays the evil queen. And Gal Gadot, God bless her. Well, I'll get to it in the review, but we'll stick to what we're talking about here. And this was the political views of both of these actresses. This was this is a hot button issue worldwide, of course, but Hollywood, especially because of the parties involved. We've seen actors and actresses lose roles because of their political stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict that's currently going on. A lot of, I guess you could say, liberals or left-thinking people are leaning towards Palestine, and the most of the Jewish community, of course, is with Israel. Get it? People are picking sides here, and it's getting bad. And I understand. I understand about the side picking, the tribalism of it all. Trust me, I get it. Me personally, I think both sides need to really grow up here, and come to a conclusion to this foolishness, this madness. Both sides are wrong in my humble opinion, and both sides have a point in my opinion. It's not, I don't think it's a true defiant right or wrong here, but that's just me. I don't know every ounce of information, so I don't really speak on the matter. But I do know it takes two people to fight. It takes two sides to disagree, and you need one to just say, "Let me chill out." You know what I'm saying? But I do know we're talking about possible invasions of countries involved in all this, so I know it's not as easy as that. I know I'm not stupid, people, but yeah, they need to come to the end of this conflict in some shape, form, or fashion. But we're not talking about my views on it, which, as you can see, I have none. But Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler, they have clear cut views and they're not the same. Rachel Zegler is on the side of Palestine, whereas Gal Gadot is on the side of Israel, which is understandable for Gal because she's Israeli. She's from Israel. Matter of fact, she served in the Israeli army, I believe, the special forces or something to that effect. And so she's really in there. But they are openly vocal about these political stands that they have, and this furthered the controversy. And neither side backed up it, and they weren't directing it, to each other per se, but it was just the fact that both of these actresses, the lead characters in this film, are at odds, you know, politically behind the scenes. So when they released the teaser trailer and it provoked calls for boycotts of the film from both sides, That's how crazy it is, because that's how deep rooted this tribalism is. The people that was on the Rachel Zegler side wanted to boycott it because Gal Gadot was in the movie, and people who was on the Gal Gadot side, Team Gal, was wanting to boycott it because of Rachel Zegler being in the movie. So it was like is a true lose-lose situation that took place with this movie. Um, Gal Gadot supported her native Israel, where Zegler was a sympathizer towards Palestine. Before the film release, Gal, she received multiple death threats. So many death threats that it led to Disney providing additional security for her. It was that bad. She had received her and her family. That is frightening, man. The fact that it goes that deep, it is so sad, and I feel so bad for her. No matter what side of the fence you're on, you got to have some empathy here. That is so upsetting, man. That you would receive death threats over your opinion, over your stance, over your whatever. It's so bad. But despite the controversy, here's the kicker. Despite all that, despite that these two actresses didn't see eye to eye on this issue, they got along just fine on the set. All reports say, now they could be blowing smoke, which is which is very possible. We're talking about Hollywood here, but they had a positive relationship with each other during the production of the film. After the release of the film, one of the producers, son, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I had it down here, but this is a different sheet, I guess. But anyway, he blamed the box office underperforming this past weekend when it opened because of Rachel Zegler. Now, the producer's son is Jewish. They're Jewish. And I believe the producer had talked to her and tried to tell her to stop posting on Instagram or Twitter, wherever, about Palestine and stuff like that, because it's not a good look, And Rachel did. And from reports said that she basically cursed the dude out, or whatever the case may be. And she continued to post. And the producer's son was on a podcast talking about Rachel Zegler and blamed her, put the whole failure of this film on Rachel Zegler. Once again, I'll give my thoughts when we review the film. Box office analysis largely disagreed with those views, as do I. That the film's underperformance can be attributed to political controversy, and instead it contributed to the film's failure to resonate with the critics and the audience. It's pretty simple as that. It's not it's not rocket science. So we had another boycott of this film, and this came from the good old Republicans here in the United States. And this is after the aftermath of the presidential election that just took place, when Rachel Zegler took to Twitter or Instagram, wherever she was, and said F Donald Trump. And I'm just saying F, but she said all four letters, and and attacked those who voted to reelect him, saying that may Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. And she went on to say later she did issue a public apology saying that she did not intend to harm with her message while offering a call for peace. And now, God bless Rachel Zegler for apologizing. I'm not, because I agree with every word, every word she just said. I'm with her on that. I mean, I wish they never know peace. And as of right now, they don't know peace because this dude is a madman. But all of the Republicans decided to boycott this film. And so those are a few of those joy controversies that before you even sat down, bit into your first piece of popcorn, took a sip of your Coca-Cola in the movie theater before the first trailer rolled, this was what was taking place behind the scenes in the making of Disney Snow White. So, without further ado, let's go into the review of the 2025 Disney live action remake or reimagining Snow White, the musical fantasy film directed by Mark Webb, which blew my mind. I did not know that. Going to see the movie, once I saw his name pop up, I was like, what? Mark Webb, he directed the two Andrew Garfield Superman, Spider-Man film, the Amazing Spider-Man films. And I enjoyed those movies. A lot of people poo-poo on Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man movies. I actually liked them. Now, were they great? No. But I like them for what they were. But anyway, he's directing this film. He also directed it was just on the tip of my tongue, 500 Days of Summer. And love that movie. That was a good movie. But anywho's, he directed this film. It's the live action remake of Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which is based on the 1812 fairy tale Snow White by the Brothers Grimm. This film stars Rachel Zegler, Andrew Burnap, and Gal Gadot, and it follows the pure-hearted Snow White, who joins forces with the Seven Dwarfs and a bandit named Jonathan to free her kingdom from her cruel stepmother. Well, I've been talking for 35 minutes or 38 minutes actually, and it's no point dragging this on. This movie was bad, and this was not a good movie. In no aspect, at no point did I enjoy this movie. This movie was so boring, man. Honestly, this is one of the worst live action remakes that Disney has made, and that's saying a lot because that Lion King remake, if you want to call it that, was not good. I still haven't seen Mufasa. Maleficent 2 was not good. And they've been striking out on these live action remakes. Some of them were all right. The first Maleficent was okay. You know, Cinderella was really good. Beauty and the Beast was not good. The Little Mermaid was so they're not really knocking these live action remakes out the park, especially when you have the originals, the animated films that are so good, that are borderline perfect. It's no point touching them, so you can add this to the list. This was I'm not a big movie musical person. Just recently I started accepting musicals and enjoying them for the most part. But I never was a guy that like, oh man, it's a musical, I'm going to see it. It's not me. you know, and I like musicals in the sense to whereas the music is organic. There's a term for it, but I can't think of it right now. But when it's organic in the film, this didn't feel like that. The musical numbers in this movie feel forced. You didn't just transition into good songs. It was like dialogue, line. They stop, a dramatic turn towards the mirror or outside of a window, and then you start singing. And it's like, what is this, man? And then the lyrics don't really match what just happened, or whatever it is you're talking about. It's like, man, why are we? Why is this even a musical? Everybody, 99% of the people singing in this movie can sing. Like I said, Rachel Zegler comes from Broadway. She knows how to perform. She can use her. She knows how to sing. The gentleman that plays the bandit, he can sing. It worked. Who couldn't sing? Who couldn't sing was Gal Gadot. I don't know why. And this is what hurts me so bad. First and foremost, let me say, I love Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot is one of the most beautiful women to grace this planet. I mean, unbelievably beautiful. She was awesome in Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman. That is it. I have not enjoyed Gal Gadot in a film other than Wonder Woman ever. There's no movie she's been in where I can say, man, Gal Gadot, she really ate in that role, boy. She took this movie over. She stole this movie. No, man, she can't. That's not her strong suit. Her strong suit is her beauty, and there's nothing wrong with that. But here's the problem I have. I'm not mad at Gal Gadot. I'm mad at the producers of this movie who decided to cast her. She's not the strongest actress. Period. Point blank. Period. Why would you ask her to act and sing? The world may never know. It did not work, man. And not only did she sing, they asked her to sing twice in this film, and it just got worse. I just don't. I was so hurt by that, and I tried to look past it because I watched Les Mis. I saw Russell Crowe talk sing when he was when he was in that movie. Couldn't sing a lick, but I accepted it. Because it worked for the character. Not here. Not here. This was just embarrassing, man. I just felt so bad for her. But it's all good because that wasn't the worst part of this movie. Shockingly enough, the worst part of this movie was the special effects. The visual effects was horrible, horrible. I could not stand looking at the seven dwarfs. Couldn't stand it. It made my stomach turn. It was like, why? Why would you use CGI dwarfs? There are actual dwarfs around. These aren't mystical creatures. They are actual human beings you could have used. It made zero sense. It ruined the movie. And that wasn't the bad. At least that wasn't the only bad visual effects. It was throughout the film. They had some good little visual effects here and there, but for the most part, the visual effects was just bad. Like, where did that $350 million go? I don't understand. This was so ugly to look at. Now, they did have some scenes here or there. Not scenes. Let me take that back. They had some shots in this movie that were gorgeous. It looked like you could have just snapshot it and put it in a frame. It was beautiful looking, but those were just shots. When it starts getting into motion and the movie's moving, it just did not look good. It's just, I don't know. It was a waste of a movie. It was a waste of time. And sadly, all of the vitriol, all of the protests and boycotts and talking bad about Rachel Zegler and talking bad about Gal Gadot and all this here about what went on behind the scenes and their political views and this, that, and the third. That's not why this movie failed. That's not why this movie bombed. This movie sucks. This was a bad movie. You can get past controversy if you have a good movie. If you have a good movie, I'll give you an example. The Passion of the Christ. Very controversial movie. Very successful movie as well. Why? Because it was a good movie. It doesn't matter as long as you can land the plane. Just land the plane. And they did not land this plane. Actually, it crashed and burned. And they waiting on their prince to come, their first love to come and kiss them and wake them up. Because this was bad. I was trying to use the Snow White reference there, and it didn't work. It didn't land. It just didn't land. But neither did this film. Snow White gets a letter grade of a D minus. Yeah, it was that bad. It's this is a movie that I will never, I would never watch again, and it's sad, man. Because what makes it so bad, as I said to open up this show, I had zero desire to watch this movie. There was nothing in me that said I wanted to go see Snow White. No part of me. But I don't know. It's just something the other day that just nudged me and like, you go check it out. You know, what's all this talk about? But it was more about the talk about the people making the movie as opposed to the movie. And now I know why. That's more entertaining. What took place, all of the controversy, all of the Twitter and Instagram back and forths and stuff like that, that was more entertaining than this actual movie. And so for all of that controversy, throw that out your head. That's not why this movie failed. This movie failed because it wasn't good. But that's my opinion. I would love to know your thoughts on Snow White. Did you check it out? Do you plan to? Or were you going to go see it? Heard me talk about it and said, no thanks. I would love to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to Movie Goodness. Oh, everybody, I just want to say thank you for all of your support, all of your love. It has been felt. I am just amazed when I look at the numbers, the analytics of this show. You guys are awesome. Keep it up, because I'm going to keep it up. We're still going to bring the thunder. Love you all. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.